In 2023, you had seen wars cast a big shadow on certain sporting events. When you looked at the Russia-Ukraine war, it cast a big shadow on certain events like Wimbledon, where Russian and Belarusian athletes were not allowed. Now, the Israel-Gaza conflict is threatening to ensure that there is a big shadow over certain sporting events. And the Under-19 World Cup 2024 that's going to be held in South Africa has already claimed one major casualty, the South African Under-19 skipper himself. Yes, the South African Under-19 skipper has been removed from his post of captaincy because of what he said in favor of Israel during the ongoing Israel-Gaza conflict. Just about an hour back, we had gotten a press release from Cricket South Africa explaining why South Africa's Under-19 World Cup skipper was removed from his post. Now, the press release clearly states, CSA has been receiving regular security and risk updates regarding the World Cup. We have been advised that protests related to the war in Gaza can be anticipated at the venues for the tournament. We have also been advised that they are likely to focus on the position of the SA Under-19 captain who's been removed. His name is David Teeger. Hold on to that name, because the backdrop of this continues why wars, sporting events are a big hypocrisy when it comes to the world, when it comes to international affairs in general, because there is a risk that they could result in conflict or even violence between rival groups of protesters. Now, this is a very worrying part. Because of what David Teeger stated, and I'll come to what he said in his quotes, this is worrying. Because conflict or even violence, look at how everything has been there in the Free Palestine situation. When Usman Khwaja supported those things, when he wore those messages, was there any threat of violence? No. Because it comes to Gaza, because what comes to Palestine, there is a threat of violence. And this is where the hypocrisy begins. CSA has a primary duty to safeguard the interests and safety of all those involved in the World Cup, and in all the circumstances, CSA has decided that David should be relieved of the captaincy for the tournament because of what he said. Now, what was the trigger point according to which this Israel-Gaza war came into the doorsteps of the South Africa team and also with the Under-19 World Cup in 2024? This is the individual, David Teeger. David Teeger made a pro-Israel statement on the sidelines of the Rising Star Award that he got at the Jewish Achievers Function. Remember, David Teeger himself is Jewish, and after he made the statement, there was an investigation by Cricket South Africa and the board that he represents, AajTak. Now remember, in this entire thing, what was the exact quote? David Teeger made the pro-Israel comment after he got the Rising Star Award in the South African circles. But what did he say after that? This was the statement. I am now the rising star. But the true rising stars are the young soldiers in Israel. I'd like to dedicate it to the state of Israel and to every single soldier fighting so that we can live and thrive in the diaspora. Diaspora is, remember, for over 2000 to 3000 years, the Jews were exiled into various parts of the world after the temple fell in Jerusalem. After the exile, they were treated as second-class citizens everywhere they went. You saw the culmination of the Holocaust in Europe, you saw it all the time. Jews were given really second-class treatment in most of the countries that they were in. Now, the diaspora is a culmination of all the people coming into Israel in first wave, the second wave, the third waves after the 1890s. So, the diaspora still remains. A lot of Jews are still living outside of Israel. So, David Teeger gave this award, he dedicated this award to the soldiers of Israel. Now, AajTak and CSA conducted the investigation and found out that, okay, perhaps he had exercised all this under the freedom of expression bit. But then, the threat of violence, is it new? Shockingly, in South Africa, it is not new, because what's happened? During the India versus South Africa test match that happened in Newlands, one group protested and they were asking why David Teeger was being selected as the captain. Police had to evict them from there, and you can also see in the photos that are there are a group of people who are expressing solidarity with Palestine there. That is a problem. PSA, which is the Palestine Solidarity Alliance that is active in South Africa, they have lodged a complaint with CSA after the statement. Now, why does South Africa, why is it magnified in such an extent? Because for war crimes, South Africa have taken Israel to the International Court of Justice. That is why David Teeger's current statement is not tenable with the South Africa government's position. South Africa have taken Israel to court over what is happening in Gaza, and because of that, risk of violence, protests in the Under-19 World Cup has escalated. Now, look at the broader context as to why, unfortunately, this situation has cropped up, where politics can't be kept aside from sports. When Usman Khwaja and many of the other people were doing the Free Palestine movement, they lodged it on their shoes, they lodged it everywhere on their social media, ICC took them down. Because you can't make any kind of political statements on the ground. But look at the myopic nature, look at the double standards, what's happened. When Rizwan tweeted solidarity in Gaza, he escaped because he had done it on social media, which is even more provocative. When Usman Khwaja did it, he did it in the field of play. That's why the ICC could take a note of it. But David Teeger said it during a function. But this is the nature of one side of the protest that is there. Sometimes journalists are very, very damned to be neutral about this. Unfortunately, people have to be neutral in this case, but in David Teeger's case, what has happened? Because he made one statement from where he truly belongs from. Violence from the other group. One group did not resort to violence when there was Free Palestine. In this case, when David Teeger has given his sympathies to Israel, why is one group resorting to violence? That is the hypocrisy. That is the hypocritical standpoint from which this emanates from. Now, the 2024 Under-19 World Cup is going to begin in a short while, but unfortunately, protests have already cast a shadow. David Teeger has been removed. So, PSA and the rest of the fringe groups who are there, they have managed to ensure that they have gotten the first moral victory in that. But Israel-Gaza, the protests, the unfortunate situation that is surrounding there, it's come right in South Africa's doorsteps. And which tournament has fallen prey to it? The Under-19 Cricket World Cup. Not for the first time, cricket, war and politics intermingle on the grand stage of them all. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us for this live. We'll be back with more updates on sports today. Tap that bell icon so you know when we go live. And don't forget, we are on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram as well. Bye-bye.